Cheers, love! The cavalry's here!
Welcome back, everyone. This is Overwatchers. I'm Garrett Weinzerl. He's Patrick Beja, and he is Chris, a.k.a. Chan Man. Welcome back, guys.
Hey. So I have my Overwatch Collector's Edition right here. I'm back in Europe. I'm ready to do a show because you know what? McCree and Widowmaker are not a problem anymore.
No, they're not at all.
But one of them's not as much of a problem anymore.
Oh,
hey, Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to see you're back in. Is it this part of the hemisphere? I'm trying to figure
this
out.
part of the world. Well,
Yeah,
I
at
don't
least
know. It's not
my
your part of the world.
Yeah,
I
well, I'm
went
on
the
the
other
east.
way around, right?
Yeah.
I was in Japan, and you were here. I went here.
You're closer, at least. You're at the very
I'm not
least
even
closer.
sure about that.
You're not. You're no longer in the future. At least not as.
Okay, that's a good way.
I'm
strongly
less
in the future. Yeah,
I'm
you're
still
less
a
in the
little
future.
bit
You're
in
only
the
a few hours in the future now, whereas before
Yeah.
you were an entire day in the future.
Exactly.
So he was sending us warnings about like earthquakes, and it was nuts. It was crazy. It's always good to have a.
The patch is coming. The patch is coming, guys.
Guys, McCree's getting nerfed. He's getting nerfed.
Actually, you got it last today. I mean, I think you got this patch later, right? Because there were a lot of people in the EU that didn't get it until like hours after we did. So
Yeah, I
Reverse
don't
this
even know. Isn't Overwatch updating at the same time all over the world? I know for the other games they update on Tuesday evening for the US and then Wednesday morning for EU. And with the time difference, it's basically almost at the same time. It's a few hours. But I'm not sure how it works for EU.
yesterday
For
we
Overwatch.
we got it early in the morning, and then I think you didn't get it till the evening, something like that.
All right. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
we
there
got a
was
few
a,
hours more of McCree and Widow dominance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if folks follow us on Twitter, they were probably informed that we were going to have a guest today. Zoe was supposed to join us. Sadly, she was having just the worst morning of microphone issues, and we so if you're watching live and wondering why we're starting late, that's why we were starting late. We were trying to fix those issues, and unfortunately, we couldn't get them fixed. So we will have to come on a later episode of the show. So we're sad she couldn't join us, and sorry for everyone that got all excited she was going to be here, but I'm sure we'll get her on at some point in the future.
We've all had those mornings.
Oh, yes.
But their mic is just freaking out.
Oh yes, and it's I've had those mornings. That's the worst because I'm in the stream, so then I'm holding up like all the other people that podcast with me, and things start being thrown across the room. My Chihuahua is afraid. It's always scary. It's always scary. So. Never good to have those things. So hey, anyways, we are back to our early Wednesday morning recording time. For those of us in the Americas, anyway. If you're Patrick and in his neck of the woods over in Europe, this is like a perfectly sane, normal time. But it's anyway. So that's if you want to tune in live, check us out on twitch.tv/amovetv Wednesday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So. Anyways, there's a bit to talk about. We already made some reference to the balance patch, but we got a balance patch, guys. McCree, alternative fire, getting actually having the amount of time before he can start reloading decreased quite a bit. And if you stopped reading there, you probably had your mind blown. However, his bullet damage was also severely decreased on his alt fire. It went from 70 down to 45.
Right, which is huge.
Yes.
I mean, that's crazy.
Massive. That's a huge change in the amount of damage it does. So
the bullet damage has been reduced only on the alternate fire, right?
Right,
Not
the
on
right click.
the
Yeah.
correct.
regular.
Only
Right
on the
click is the same as it's always been.
And the recovery time has gone back to what it was in the beta a while ago, which it worked. It worked fine. And with the bullet damage decrease. Basically, what that affects, you're probably still going to be able to wreck a lower health character. I mean, even with a 45 damage bullet, you fire 6 of them, you're going to kill, probably a tracer. Anyone who's about 200 health is probably going to die very easily if you stun them. But then what it does is that as Jeff Kaplan was talking a while ago, it's really a lot more difficult to kill a tank with that kind of damage, right? That was the goal.
Yeah. It's also it's also a change that requires you to make it's a distance change too. So even for those characters that you're referencing that had 200, 250 hit points, you have to land them all. You have to land all these bullets now. So like before, people were just fanning from mid range and still killing people, and it was pretty crazy. Literally just fan and then roll fan, and you'd be killing like Pharahs at like whatever range. And so this actually requires you to be quite close to just guarantee kills on the majority of the characters, even not just tanks, right? This change was mainly, at least their explanation, about not allowing McCree to take out big thick tanks because that's just not right.
Yeah, and this isn't horrendously
this is
surprising.
cool.
We talked about last week how both Jeff Kaplan and Jeff Goodman were talking about how they were concerned about how fast McCree could shred a tank.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
exactly. But so just to be clear, you're still able to do your job as a tracer and Genji counter, right? Because if you're close enough to flashbang them in the face, you're probably going to be close enough to kill them with the fan the hammer, right, Chris?
Yep, exactly.
Cool.
I mean, it again, like you said, as a counter to those two characters, it still functions the same. So, I like this change. I think this change is really good. So far, I haven't had a problem with it. I mean, I use my left click a little bit more than I used to, which is cool because I actually like the left click too. So, overall, I think this change was good.
And the reason they gave for the right click, what is it? The recovery time, sorry, I didn't remember the term. The recovery time, they increased it in the beta because they thought that McCree was using his right click as a main source of damage at any range. I guess now it's the recovery time is back to being relatively short, but with the damage being lowered, it's not as effective. So you're not just going to walk around and doing your fan the hammer everywhere just to hit targets that are really far away. Does it have fall off? Does it also have damage fall off?
There's no fall off. I think
okay.
The fall off hasn't changed. At least it's the same.
Okay, because there is fall off on the left click, so you can't
for sure.
snipe. Right. Okay.
That was ridiculous. When there was no fall off, it was just as good as a Widow. It was
that was a while ago.
Crazy. Yeah. Actually better than Hanzo because it's just a straight shot. So it is really, really good. But he's still powerful though. I mean, people that are still good at McCree are still very, very effective with McCree right now. But I think just overall, just having to require more skill, just require you to be really good at McCree. I think this is much better. Before, literally, I was terrible at McCree, okay? Like, literally one of my least played characters, and I would be, like, gold medaling it every time I played it. I mean, that's just not right. I mean, that should not happen.
Yeah,
so,
I like that now there's a decision to be made on that mouse. Am I left clicking? Am I right clicking? Because before it was just, why not? It does the same amount of damage and it fires all 6 bullets. Let's go.
Yeah,
it's I really like the way they're the approach they're taking to nerfing and well buffing too, but mostly nerfing, because the characters still feel like themselves. We're going to talk about Widowmaker in a second, but they definitely don't feel like they've altered the character so much that they're not they don't play the same anymore. Maybe the one exception is Zenyatta, who is being discussed heavily by the community right now. People feel like he's been altered too much, but that's a different conversation. But by and large, all of the characters, all the different nerfs they've implemented were light enough that they didn't alter your enjoyment of the character, which is paramount in this game. And I think it's the case for McCree here too.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. So let's move on. Let's talk about Widowmaker. Now, her scope shot had the base damage decreased. It went from 15 down to 12. However, the damage multiplier hasn't been messed with.
So if you're curious about what that means, basically the damage multiplier when you've charged the shot for a second is 10. So 15 times 10 meant you did 150 damage for a body shot, which meant you could kill a Tracer or Zenyatta in one shot. Even a body shot. You didn't need to do a headshot. Now it's 12 times 10, 120. So even if you body shot with a fully charged shot, Tracer or Zenyatta, they're not going to die. You still need to hit them again. Now you might be able to do that very quickly, but that you can't one-shot them easily.
Yeah,
Which makes me so happy.
Yeah, the cool thing is with the math that they did, just lowering it basically by 20%. But then upping the headshot damage multiplier by 20% means that the headshot damage is exactly the same as it used to be.
Yep.
So that was really smart of them. Nerfing the body damage, and I mean that's huge, right? Because the body damage obviously has a bigger hit radius, and people playing Zenyatta, that's the biggest complaint, right? Like nobody would play Zenyatta because it's so easy to snipe him.
Yep.
So now it's a little bit better. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like like crazily better, because the Widowmakers generally that are good, they headshot anyways. But the follow-up shot's just so quick too. So even if you hit Zenyatta once and he's still alive, the follow-up shot's like, I don't know, a second after. So it's still really quick. That's something I still think they should look at, is just how quickly she can follow up. But this is definitely better. I mean, at least it requires more skill, right?
Absolutely.
It generally goes that direction, at least with Widowmaker.
As a primarily Tracer player, I love this change, because now if you want to take me out in one shot, you better hit me in the head, and that's hard to do on Tracer. Zenyatta, I'm in your camp, Chris. I think it's still a little too easy to counter Zenyatta with a Widowmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They also changed the way she scopes. Now you have to wait until the unscoping animation is done before you can scope again, which basically means you won't see replays where Widowmaker is just scoping, unscoping like a crazy, I don't know, epilepsy crisis-inducing.
That's called watching pro players, is what he's saying.
Yeah,
that's
basically.
what it looks like.
But I don't know. I'm sure it's a problem for pro players who were using this as a tool to play better. But as a purely spectator, from a spectator's point of view, those looked incredibly. It looked dumb. It looked kind of ridiculous. So from that point of view, I'm kind of happy it's not possible anymore. I don't know if it's a problem beyond that, but it just looked weird.
Well, it makes her easier to kill too. Because basically, for those of you who aren't familiar with what he's talking about, they would what you do as Widowmakers, like you literally fire and then you unscope and you're moving full speed, and then until you can scope again, and then the people that are really good can scope and track really quickly and then just shoot. But you were basically moving at full speed between your shots, and that's extremely hard to hit her, versus just kind of walking, right? Just
because she moves a lot slower when she's trying to strafe if she's scoped versus unscoped.
Right, exactly. So that's a nerf to her, just I guess defensive ability too. And most of the casual players don't do what we're talking about anyways, because it takes us a lot longer to aim even when we're scoped. But definitely for the higher skilled players, it does make it a little bit harder.
This has not really impacted my personal Widowmaker play
in me either.
almost any way, shape, or form, but that's because I am bad at Widowmaker. So, but I like these changes. I think they were good overall. I'm still enjoying McCree. I am enjoying dying to McCree less. I'm still just as bad as I was at Widowmaker, and I'm enjoying dying to Widowmaker less, slightly less. She's still very lethal.
Where's the diva buff? Like, wasn't that supposed to happen?
Yeah.
Well, Jeff did mention that it was going to come later. Probably it was less urgent.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, might be my diva bias, but I would argue it's pretty urgent.
I've been playing her more lately. Yeah.
Yeah, I love diva. I mean, it's not like I'm boycotting her. Like, no diva till diva is buff. I'm still loving her and playing the crap out of her.
We did some 6 diva action last night too. I was telling the guys that we were just doing 6 of anything like last night, and the diva ones. You know what? Like when we were all pilots, we were wrecking, and then we get in our mechs and it'd be like, like, man, we can't kill anything with this thing.
It's all about my cell phone charm pistol, man.
Yeah, it's like tank for me while I'm a pilot and I'm firing at everything. It's like that. It's crazy. No, but yeah, Diva could use a little something when she's in her map.
I finally reacquired my White Rabbit skin for Diva last week, which was my favorite one in the beta, because she's in a red pilot suit, and everyone know the best pilots wear red pilot suits. So
we might get the buff with the competitive mode, which shouldn't take too long now. We're already mid-June, and Jeff reconfirmed that it was going to come at the end of the month, so should be coming fairly soon.
So are we getting hyped? Are we excited again for competitive mode?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm getting back into the unhealthy surveillance of my watcher.dg profile with the win rate ratio, and I've maintained the positive one, so I'm kind of okay, but I get like dangerously tilted when I go under. So yeah, I want competitive mode to be there, but beyond my personal, psychological issues, it's also because I think it's very healthy for the game to have a place where you're trying hard and a place where it's whatever. And the competitive mode hopefully will be the try hard place, and people will be a little bit more serious, a little bit more communicative there, and maybe a little bit more YOLO whatever in the quick play. So I think it's good to divide those two, at least the intent between the two.
Yeah, communicative-wise, I think I totally agree with you. I was doing my own little experiment this past week and trying to talk more and things like that. Nope. Radio silence every time I try to talk in quick play.
I got into some games with Chris right after this experience, and he was lamenting it the whole time. And we were even trying to talk. We were even trying to talk together to the
exactly
people in game, and it's just radio silence, man.
Yeah. Even text, they don't reply.
Yeah,
well, the text is hard to reply to in a shooter game unless you are dead, which I understand, and that's why I would assume more people would.
You know what they should? You know what feature they should create? They should create Siri for Overwatch, or text or speech to text type of thing.
Yeah, it could be like, hey, I'm not going to say the word, but like, Siri, please tell my teammates that there's a freaking Widowmaker on the ledge on the right. She's been wrecking us for 2 minutes. Someone please get her, God.
And then it would not translate it correctly, and it would say there is a freaking wood crafter on the counter. Like, what? What is he talking about?
Man, that's
a wood counter.
That's true. Oh, and people are probably like, not Siri, it's Athena. Okay, Athena, all right, guys. Athena.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome if you could tell stuff to Athena. Anyway, we also got some improved stability on the high bandwidth option. That means finally 60 hertz tick rate for competitive people. They can test it.
Oh, amazing. That's definitely something that, we'll have to try out, or at least hopefully some event organizers will get a chance to try out, because we can put that just that those excuses and whatnot to rest.
Yeah, I've been watching watching E3, was watching the Quake presentation. They're like 120 hertz. I'm like, wow, I wonder who you're targeting with that selling point.
Exactly right.
Plus lots of rockets,
Yeah, that looked interesting. The whole Quake thing.
It did. It looked kind of Overwatchy. It looks like there's a character that can blink around and possibly rewind. And although I would argue that Pharah looks very Quakey in Overwatch. So
yeah, I mean the biggest difference with Quake is I think they'll always focus more on offensive characters. Like, so every one of those characters, I'm sure, is just like a DPS character in some way.
Yes. I didn't see someone running around with angel wings healing anyone, and I don't expect to see that in my Quake.
Yeah, a healer in Quake would be like a heresy. You're like, what are you doing? Just shoot stuff.
Just instant.
Like, go pick up those things around the map. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, if there was anything in Quake that sole purpose wasn't to gib the opposing players, I would be a little miffed. And I'm not even that big of a Quake fan, but it would seem wrong. It would just seem wrong. So, anyways, I'm excited to see what they did with competitive play, what the changes are. I'm a little more in your camp, Chris. I'm like, I'm kind of just enjoying how the game is just fun at the moment.
Really? You're not pining for competitive
Well,
mode?
again, Patrick, you have to remember how completely and utterly unhappy I was with it in the beta. So I don't know how improved it is because I haven't tried it. So I honestly, all I really have to go off of is my previous experience and the fact that right now I'm kind of enjoying that I have no sense of ladder anxiety whatsoever when it comes to Overwatch.
I'm just in full social mode with it right now. Like literally every single night, I play with a bunch of friends, and it has nothing to do with how we're ranked or not. I mean, obviously we want to win, but
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with what bracket we're in or what division we're in or anything like that. So maybe I'll get past that after I get a little bit tired of just doing the same thing every night. But at least right now, I'm completely satisfied.
Yep.
I'm seeing people who are level like 120 already.
106. I have a friend 170. Merps.
Oh
you know
my
Merps, right?
God.
Like Garrett?
Yeah.
Like had walked in Merps.
Yeah.
Merps is 170 or something. It's crazy.
That's
Insane.
I know.
ridiculous.
It's like, don't you play Hearthstone too?
That-
Man, what's going on?
That's the
man?
thing, yeah. Like a lot of my, I get into Overwatch with a lot of my buddies, and they're like, "Oh my God, Garrett, how are you still in such a low level?" I'm just like, guys, I play Heroes, I play Hearthstone. Don't you as well? You're on my friends list. I know you play other Blizzard games.
It's wild, man.
Yeah, it is nuts. And obviously, I think the fact that I enjoy other games plays into the fact that I don't need competitive play right here, right now, because we just got a huge update in Heroes, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go try hard over there, and Overwatch is where I get together with my buddies and we just have fun.
Yeah.
So
Understandable.
yeah, I mean, it's something different for everyone, right? I mean, the same game doesn't mean the same thing to every single player out there. So. And speaking of which, there's quite a few players out there because we found out this week that we have crossed the 10 million player threshold. Over 10 million Overwatch agents, guys.
So last week it was 7 million, right?
Yeah,
And
so
then
in a
like this
week's
week
time-
is 10 million.
Yep.
I mean, wow.
In a week's time, we picked
Yeah.
up 3 million more players.
That's
So
crazy.
it was only last week that it was 7 million. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I just
think it's
looked
like
at
if
the
you look at the
notes.
notes,
Wow.
right? It was 7 million last week.
That's
Yeah.
that's insane. And okay, it can't keep going forever. I mean, for a long time. I thought 10 and they announced the 10 million, the 7 million about 10 days after the game released. So that means it was almost the same rate, right? Unless they announced 7 when they were at 7.9. But
No, they
yeah,
would
it's
they
almost
would
the
have
same
they would
rate.
have figured out a way to round that up, and we're almost 8 million players, like something like that.
Or
Yeah,
just
but-
waited
or
a day.
unless they were looking at this and saying, "We'll announce 7 now
Oh, yeah, the
and
second
10 million next week."
Oh, that's true. That's true. That would be a really good strategy too.
It's pretty
But
insane.
yeah, it's pretty insane. 10 million already. It's a very, very successful game for sure.
Yeah, and our sub count keeps going up for the podcast as well. Like I know we talked about, what was it, 10,000 2 weeks ago? It's still going. It's still moving up.
Wow. Welcome everyone to
Yeah, welcome.
Overwatchers.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Welcome.
yeah. So hope you enjoy it. Please enjoy your stay. We know you have a choice when choosing your Overwatch podcast, and we're glad that you chose Overwatchers. Or
Yes.
you're possibly listening to other shows also because it's not exclusive. So, and there are some other great
there-
shows out
we're
there. You
not
should go listen to them.
exclusive. There are some good podcasts out there. I listen to a bunch. They're cool.
It's great. Some good stuff. Some good stuff out there. So in the esports world, it's been kind of interesting. Apparently, the football, as in soccer team, guys, Manchester United is in a bidding war with Fnatic over purchasing an already sponsored Overwatch team. We're not sure which team this is.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation. I mean, Manchester United, for those that aren't familiar with it, it's a UK. It's the biggest UK soccer football.
Yeah, it's
depending on
one
where
of
you
the
are.
biggest. It's one of the biggest
Sports
soccer clubs in the world. I mean,
Yeah.
Manchester United is insanely huge. I don't know how to compare it to American.
It's close to the
things.
Yankees. It's billion-dollar billion-dollar team. I mean, hundreds of $1 million of revenue every year. So, yeah, exactly what Patrick said. One of the biggest sports franchises in the world. And yeah, they decided nah, we're not going to try to get an LCS team, or we're not going to get a CSGO team. We're going to try Overwatch as our first esports team, which is really surprising. I know Red Eye, for those of you that aren't familiar, Red Eye hosts a lot of different esports events, as well as does some stuff behind the scenes. He's been consulting, at least with Manchester United, about I guess their decision on this, or maybe what teams to pick, and yeah, so that organization is going against Fnatic, which we all, if you're familiar with esports, Fnatic has been just an active organization for a long time in the esports scene, and so it seems like this is like big giant versus a little dog here, but the reason why I think the pairing is happening, or at least speculations, is that Reunited is the team that we're talking about. It's not 100% clear as to which one it is, but it makes sense that Reunited is, because Reunited consists of a lot of players that were once Fnatic. At least when Overwatch first came out, at least the beta when the closed beta first came out, Fnatic had a team, and it was consisted of mostly the Reunited folks. At some point, they decided to go separate ways. And Reunited kind of did their own thing, and added a couple players to it. But then, now everybody thinks that they're kind of revisiting it at this point, which would make sense. Fnatic being in the running with Manchester United is very surprising if it is just like definitely on equal footing type of thing. So I think that's what we're looking at as Reunited. It could be Rogue. Rogue's another great EU team. That's one of the top EU teams too. Could be a candidate too. But most folks think it's the Reunited team.
And Reunited dominated at some point for, I guess, not the entire beta, but for a good 3-4 weeks, maybe more. They were winning everything. I guess it's not the exact same roster, but so does that mean, just to be 100% clear for people who don't know the world of esports, or even sports, to be honest, I'm talking about me here. That means we're gonna get a if this goes through, and if it's real, we're gonna get a Manchester United Overwatch team. Like, they're gonna be called Manchester United.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much what it means.
It's insane.
It's crazy.
It's crazy to hear. It's like, again, I don't know if the Americans are gonna understand how big it is, that team, but it's like having an Overwatch team called, well, some of your famous teams in the NFL or NBA, or
Chris the LA Lakers, or the the New York Yankees, or something like that. Yeah.
Think about the Yankees team in Overwatch. It's hard to wrap my brain around this, and if it does happen, I think it's gonna make a lot of people. This is the like when Twitter first started, you had lots of famous internet people and podcasters, and Leo Laporte was on there, and these kinds of people. And then after a couple of years, the real celebrities arrived, and that's when the world took notice, right? When you have the Justin Biebers and the Beyonce and whoever. Here, it's kind of the same effect. It's like, if there's Manchester United having an esports team, normal people are going to turn around and go like, oh, wait, what is this? And they're going to start getting interested. So this could be really big, I think.
I agree. And to me, it makes sense too, just from if you're talking about a more traditional team franchise getting into esports, a soccer team makes a little more sense to me, because that is a worldwide sport, and most esports are worldwide as well, in the way that their leagues are set up. I mean, we have regionalized leagues and whatnot, but usually, at least in terms of Blizzard esports, you have your few different regions, and then we all come together at the end of the year for the big finals. I feel like if you had like the New York Yankees Overwatch team, it'd be kind of weird, because
it would be actually pretty funny.
I think it'd be awesome. I'm also a big Yankees fan, so that'd be super cool to me. But it'd be a bit strange, because it'd be like, and the New York Yankees Overwatch team are heading over to Europe for the next Take tournament.
So you're thinking about that, right? Like, right now, like, no sports franchises have dual sports. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure there are, but
so their brand is. I mean, they have owners. There's definitely owners that own multiple teams, but the brands don't overlap at all. So I'm wondering if they actually will do that. It might be some kind of
Maybe
different.
they'll have another name. Maybe it will be the, reunited Overwatch team owned by Manchester United, but it doesn't necessarily. Yeah, that would make more sense actually. But still, it would still turn some heads.
It'd be pretty funny to have these brands decide that esports was the place that they wanted to have, like, just to reuse their brand. So you would have like the Yankees, like cross sports too. The Yankees play the Lakers today in Overwatch, or the Lakers play, Real Madrid today. And
it's so seldom that we need to specify what sport we're talking about when we mention a team name. The only thing that pops into my head is the Giants. If you say the Giants, people are like, well, the baseball team, the football team.
Yeah.
But usually, if you say the Yankees, I know exactly what you're talking about. If you say the Lakers, I know exactly what you're talking about. So
the Cardinals too, actually.
Yeah, it would be. I personally just find that type of thing, that just the branding and the marketing of it all, I find it very fascinating to see. If Manchester United ends up picking up this team, how is it going to go? Are they just going to be called the Manchester United Overwatch team? Are they going to rebrand it? Are they going to keep the name of the team had before? Right. Who knows? Time will tell. Nonetheless, very exciting that such a large traditional sports brand is interested in getting the esports for the first time, and that esport is Overwatch.
Yeah, definitely a huge thing, and I think they're mostly doing it just because it might be the cheapest route. It might be the best bang for your buck, because if Overwatch does take off, then it's a great time, right? Just to get on a team really early, maybe sign them for 6 months or a year for something ridiculously cheap, because right now a lot of the players aren't streaming, or the value for a team right now is pretty low. So it probably doesn't cost them anything, honestly, to give it a try. But very cool, definitely, that they are trying in Overwatch.
Maybe it's just someone at the headquarters there loves Overwatch.
Yeah, that's probably what it is, actually. Somebody that the owner or somebody really, really loves Overwatch, and it's a passion thing that might turn into a great investment.
Yeah, who knows? But it's very exciting nonetheless. Well, before we move on, let's thank our patrons over at patreon.com/Overwatchers. If you are enjoying the show, if you like this podcast and you want to support it, that is the best way to do so. And a big thanks is in order, guys, because we actually picked up 3 producers since we last recorded.
That is
amazing.
That's kind of insane. I feel
nuts.
like we're being trolled almost.
I feel like we're being trolled too, but
is it that kid that was trolling streamers with $50,000? Is that who we're dealing with here?
No, I believe we're dealing with some just total badasses who are being very generous in the way that they support the show. So thank you to our first 3 producers. Thank you to Kongan B, Houston M, and LVE. LVE has supported so many shows that I've been a part of for so long now. So huge thanks to him as well.
So yeah, you're now producers of the Overwatchers.
Yep.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, all of our patrons are our bosses, but you're like our super bosses.
Executive producers.
Your hair has turned gold, your eyes have turned turquoise, and the rocks around your feet have cracked and started floating. So thank you to our super bosses. We really appreciate it. And also thanks to our patrons, all of our patrons. We thank 8 of you every week, and this week we're thanking Raymond P., Reigns of Azeroth. If that's the name your mother gave you, you have a badass mother. Thank you to Bartek B., Basam I., Eric L., Adam, Poodle Puncher, who I think actually wins the name game this week, and Christopher F. Thank you guys. Thank all of you for supporting the show. It means a lot to us, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Getting into a little bit of strategy talk this week, Patrick, you found a lovely video on YouTube by WTB Gold, or Want to Buy Gold, on how to improve your aim in Overwatch. And Want to Buy Gold brought up these kind of 5 resources, 4 of which aren't even in the game of Overwatch, to help you improve your aim. Some of these look like the first shockwave games that ever came up on the internet, but nonetheless, I didn't know they existed, and I need to start trying these things out. He brought up these online games called Sheep, the Human Benchmark Reaction Time Test, Aim Booster Challenge, and something that is just called Shoot. So good job on the SEO there. Luckily, he did link directly to all of these in his YouTube video. We also have a link to his YouTube video in the show notes. So if you haven't seen this, you can just look up WTB Gold on YouTube. You'll find his channel, or you can go to amove.tv/Overwatchers and pull up the show notes and find this. But
and just so people understand what these are, it's just you load up a web page, and there's, for example, the reaction time thing is there's a screen that's green, and you have to click the mouse when it turns red. And it's just how fast do you do that? And you can actually train doing that. You do it, 10, 15 times, and it tells you how well you've improved and stuff like that. So it's something that he recommends doing every day for a few minutes, and some of the different exercises, you can do all of them or some of them. And it's just something you can do whenever, including, if you're bored at work, for example. I'm just thinking out of the box here. And just do that every day for a week or two. And he says that his aim has improved a lot. So those first 4 are really easy to do.
Man, this is... I'll be honest with you. This is like right up my alley. Like doing these very rote drills, because I used to do this for StarCraft. Because back in the day, because StarCraft back in the day, there's custom games, right? There are mods and things like that. And
I used to play the Marine splitting game a lot.
Yeah, the Marine splitting game.
Learn how to split your Marines against Banelings coming in.
Exactly. The multitask trainer, I think, was one of the best things like that improved my StarCraft 2 skill, and I think I went up like 2 divisions. I went up to masters after I started doing that.
Wow, so it works.
Yeah, it's crazy actually. But yeah, these type of drills, they might seem kind of rote drills. They do wonders for just motor skills and motor memory, especially things like hand-eye coordination and things like that. And I've tried at least 3 of these. Aim Booster has like a variety of things, which is, I think it's just aimbooster.com, right? And there's reaction time, there's like things like firing twice, like doing consecutive kind of shot type of drills and things like that. So lots of things that mimic like the very basic fundamental actions that you do in FPS games. These things are great as training drills.
Yeah, it is aimbooster.com, by the way. My only complaint is, now that I know these exist, now I want them in the game, because in Overwatch I have my mouse sensitivity severely lowered. Because that does help my aim. It was something I think, Chris, you may have brought up, I think, on maybe the first episode you were on. And I was like, all right, let me give it a shot. Because in my day-to-day, I like an extremely sensitive mouse. I like it to pretty much just be all on the wrist when I'm working in Photoshop, when I'm doing podcast posts, stuff like that. So I now that I know these exist, I'm like, man, now I have to like lower my mouse sensitivity on my actual system so that it's somewhat similar to Overwatch.
Yeah, you have to make one of those. I've made one of those custom profile things on my Razer mouse. So that was like the easiest way for me to do it. But I went through the exact same thing, Garrett. Because my everyday, I literally move my mouse barely. Like I'm just literally doing this with my mouse, like barely moving. Right?
I basically move my mouse with my thumb and ring finger.
Right. Where in Overwatch, I'm just like waving my mouse all over the place.
Yeah, it's big, like you're using the whole right arm, and once I started doing that improved my aim incredibly.
Yeah.
By the way,
me too.
Get a big mouse mat, or just use your whole desktop and lower that sensitivity.
Yeah.
There's there's a thing in Overwatch 2 to train your aiming, which I thought was the coolest one of all, actually, because it feels like you're playing. What he recommends is, in Overwatch, just go in the practice range and actually, instead of just standing somewhere and try to shoot stuff or just moving around, just stand on a moving platform at the end of the practice range. There's one that's a little bit higher. Probably best with Widowmaker, because she's the one that's going to make it easier to do that. And it's the one where aiming is actually the most important. And just stand on that platform. It's moving around the map, and just try to aim stuff. And the bots, most of them are moving. So you actually, and some of them are moving pretty erratically. So it obviously, it's never going to be the same as when playing against humans, but I think it's the best compromise for, training while actually having some amount of fun. So I've been doing that a little bit. I think it's a really cool, just trick to tell people: go in the practice range, select Widowmaker, jump on a moving platform, and shoot stuff. And that will help.
It's really good to do the exact same thing over and over again too. So, if like you're just jumping left and right and all over the place and trying to shoot, it tends not to be as good as literally doing the same action over and over again and then just like honing whatever that that reaction or that aim that you're gonna make from that kind of thing. I've found that to be useful, at least for me, whenever I practice things.
Yeah. I'm down. I'm right there with you, Patrick. Using the practice range in Overwatch itself on the moving platforms is it's teaching you how to lead, how to hit a moving target.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, then you'll be really good on Volskaya Industries.
Or you'll be or you'll be good at putting the turret up there, and you're just like, I forget it.
I love that I still see that. I love that. I remember seeing that in the very early days of the beta, and then it went away. And then the second Overwatch launched, I was seeing it all over the place, all over again. I'm just like, yes, you clever Torbjorns, you.
It's still very hard to kill that thing.
It can be quite annoying, yeah.
The angle is so bad at shooting that thing a lot of times.
Well, go in the practice range and you'll get better at hitting moving targets.
That's right.
Also, someone's figured out how to infinitely run up walls with Hanzo and Genji. What is going on here?
That's a super weird thing. Apparently, if you play Hanzo, I was going to say Gonzo and Genji. No, Hanzo and Genji. You can, if it's a weird bug, I'm sure, but if you assign the jumping function to your mouse wheel, no other button does it, but if you assign it to the mouse wheel, then you can jump and actually keep jumping on a straight up vertical wall. So you can scale any surface, go to the top of any building if you do that. So you just jump with the mouse wheel button and keep jumping, and it goes all the way up. So I'm guessing it might get fixed really quickly, but I'm guessing we're going to start seeing some people who go places they're not supposed to be able to go with Genji and Hanzo. Those who figure out that this is possible or who see the video.
Yeah. The mouse wheel on the jump has been. It's been a trick I think a lot of TF2 players have done in the past too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you can do some cool things. Like, I don't know if you guys remember the Seagull Lucio Spider-Man YouTube on Anubis, where he was jumping from column to column, and he literally looked like Spider-Man. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That was done with a mouse wheel. The mouse wheel as the jump.
Okay.
Yeah. So you try it sometime. It's really cool with Lucio because that's what makes it so smooth. Like when you're on maps like that, and it's a cool trick. But I think a lot of people don't use the wheel as a jump though. I think it would be weird for me to use it for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think you only do it when you specifically want to
just
do
for
this
Hanzo.
Thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if it'll be super common, but definitely I'm sure we'll see somebody.
Yeah, I think some people are just going to do it for...
Which map would be the best, like, to get somewhere that you can't get? I don't know.
I'm not exactly sure. I'm there are some people who figure these things out really well, but there's also a way. Apparently, there's a hole in Reinhardt's shield. It's very small, but if you shoot dead center in the shield, it goes through and hits him.
That's really?
Yeah. But it's like probably a pixel, so it took us this long to figure it out. But there's someone that found that out. These are kind of jokey, but it's pretty amazing how some people manage to find incredible things to do with the game. There was also someone who figured out that on King's Row, if you're attacking, you can actually go choose Widowmaker, get to the first high ledge, that you can, on the top, there's a high ledge. So you get on that, and you can still be in the portion of the map where you can change characters. So you do that, you stay there, and then you switch to Mei, and you put up a wall that you are on, and you're still on that section of the map where you can change. So you change to any other character, and then you can jump on the platform that you can exit from. So that means you can exit from there or be there with any character you want. Obviously, it's limited use, but I thought it was funny that people are figuring out those incredibly ridiculous things that that it takes weeks and months to figure out.
It's like Portal puzzles.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, basically.
I saw that video as well. The hero switching on May on King's Row, and I was like, how do we not already figure this out? This seems like once you see, you're like, oh, it's so obvious.
Well, you know what it is, Garrett, is that a lot of people still haven't fully realized the whole, propping her up, like with the wall type of thing. So, some people do it, like when I'm running up from King's Row or something on defense, I do it usually on that little first pass where I can get on the second level. But I think
it's like
Yeah,
it's the the first baby performance thing. You're like, oh yeah, I can do it on this. I did it earlier too. I was like, yes, I can use my wall for this, and it's like the most ridiculous, useless thing. But
people are still finding really cool uses for May's wall, and also for Genji's deflect. Apparently, he can deflect a called down diva mech.
Yeah, yes.
Awesome.
I watched that video for the first time yesterday. That was. Well, so there was speculation. So the person I was watching it with, he thought that whenever the mech comes down, it actually does a little bit of damage. So maybe the reflect.
Oh yeah, it does.
So it might have been just the reflect from that killed the person.
No, that's what it is. That's what it is. I mean, the mech, for those who don't know, Diva's mech, when it comes down, it does a little bit of damage and it pushes people away. So you can actually push people off the map with this. Okay. It's usually lucky, and it also does a little bit of damage. But apparently, Genji, if he reflects it at the right time, he can reflect it. And what happened in that video was that Genji killed Diva with her own mech that he had deflected on her. And obviously, the mech didn't move, right? It's not like it jumped
I thought
back
it got shot back up. That would have been funny.
Which would have been dope as all get out. Or here's the best thing. Now Genji is in the mech. That would have been the coolest thing.
Oh man.
Yeah, someone suggested that.
That would be like Wolverine. That'd be like that. It would be like Wolverine. At the end of Wolverine, that guy's inside.
Oh yeah.
Remember that where he's inside the mech Wolverine or whatever it is.
The giant Wolverine mech.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would have been kind of cool. But still, so I guess the sequence of the damage, because it's doing damage to Diva as a pilot because it killed Diva. So the damage, the damage from the mech must happen before Diva accrues her mech suit health bar is the only thing I can assume. I'm trying to think about the order of the events, the way it's sequenced. So for that to be possible, it means that she's still vulnerable on her own personal Diva. Like pilot Diva health bar while that call down is happening.
Which you can, right? You can die. Like I've died before calling it.
Yeah.
Right.
You call it, and before you're actually in it, people are shooting you and you can die.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what happened. I mean, we're talking about all these crazy things that have very little practical applications, but I think the thing I'm still most amazed with is people using Lucio. You mentioned that video earlier. It was Seagull, I think. Yeah, I guess you mentioned Seagull. Mm-hmm. If you have never seen a Lucio video, like Lucio wall running video, just go Google it just go on YouTube and search for something like that. You will be amazed. The things that people manage to do. I've gone into, custom games and tried to do a little bit of it. I am really bad. Like what they do is crazy stuff. So just Google it.
You can definitely do some cool stuff. I think one night I did, it was Lijiang Tower in the market. You can jump off the left side and scale the building below the stairs and get to the marketplace really fast. Yeah, you can do some really awesome stuff. And it looks so smooth too when some people do it on the video. I think it's the mouse wheel too when people do it. Yeah, but it looks amazing. Definitely looks amazing whenever other people are doing it.
Yeah, it's some really cool stuff. Well, I mean, we're already kind of in it. Let's move into just our community roundup of all the fun stuff that's been happening in the community. First up, Matthew Mercer, who, if you are not familiar with, is actually the voice actor for McCree. He said during a panel at Acon that he likes to say it's high noon while playing Overwatch, and people will think it's a McCree using his ult and lose their minds. So you heard it here first. McCree likes to troll his own team.
That is amazing. Can you imagine you're hearing like McCree going, "It's high noon," and you're like, "Oh, where? What's happening?" And you have like Matt Mercer going like,
"Why? Why would you do that?"
For fun, Garrett. For fun.
I guess because you can. But
I wonder how long it would take for somebody to realize that. Wait, this guy can't high noon consecutively. Like him just continue to say it's high noon or whatever over and over again, and people are just hiding and hiding, and you're taking the point. It's like, when would they realize? Wait a second, this isn't right.
And, it made me think that what I would like to do, you don't need to be Matt Mercer. What you need is to have a recording.
Yeah, you just need a soundboard.
It's high noon and play it in your mic.
Yeah.
True.
Hey, Patrick, stop giving these terrible ideas to people to troll you, because you're
seriously going to see that.
Because you're hurting your own team. It's not like the other team can hear this.
It's just to troll your own team. That's the only thing you can do, right?
You're apparently
obviously the other team doesn't hear it.
You're a terrible person, Patrick. Is what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So,
I've got you in my
but
sights.
it's just fantastic. Yeah, I mean, we obviously could easily do this. We get a soundboard, we change our input device to our mixer, and we just play It's High Noon or
Well, actually, the bad one would be playing like a Lucio ult or a Zenyatta.
Let's break it down.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Into the iris. Yes, go.
Yes, pass in the iris. I mean, you should still be paying attention to your health bar for that, but nonetheless, pretty fantastic. Patrick, you wanted to point everyone to the silliest strat ever, the power walking cowboy.
I laughed.
That was also amazing. Talking about high noon, basically a couple of people, let me get their name here to give them proper credit. There's a couple of people who were doing, it's on a YouTube channel, it's HLCR. They decided to do a combo of abilities. One would be using McCree and doing his ultimate, and the other one is Lucio doing just the acceleration, but the boosted up acceleration.
Yeah, the speed buff while boosted with his E.
Right, so the boosted speed up, and what that means is that McCree actually started walking pretty damn fast. Like he still looks like he's walking slowly, but it's like that's why it's called the power walk. It looks just a little bit ridiculous, but the thing is, obviously, when you hear that, you want to get away from him, right? You want to turn a corner, but in this case, he's moving so fast. He's almost moving at regular speed, so he's following you around. And you're like, oh my God, I can't get away from this crazy cowboy targeting me.
It's like if Jason Voorhees decided to start using a revolver. Like, it's terrifying. Exactly. He's just walking, like calm as can be, but moving faster than normal. So yeah, if you were unaware, Lucio's speed boost does affect an ulting McCree, and it's
that video you have to watch it. I was laughing so hard.
It is
there's something
incarnate.
About them laughing about it too that just cracked me up.
The video it's a wonderful cut. They cut together I think like 3 or 4 different times where they did this in a 3-minute video. It's great. Again, yeah, the YouTube channel is HLCR. Go look it up. It's already at over 200,000 views. I'm dropping a link into the chat room right now. It's hysterical.
Super fun.
It's very funny. So, this feels old now because we've been laughing at this for a while, but we didn't have time to talk about it last week. Patrick considers this the competitive mode I have always been waiting for. This came from at Mogtaku, and it was a Korean Overwatch team got into. I guess you could do this in a regular game. And they set up basically a tennis court is the best way I can explain it. Yeah. So you have 2 mercies.
Or badminton, right?
Yeah, or badminton.
Like yeah.
They have 2 mercies standing across from each other. This is on Volskaya Industries. And they're beaming each other to basically make a net. And then you have 2 Genjis on each side of this net. And you have a Junkrat up top fire one of his grenades, and the Genjis start deflecting it across the net at each other. You just need to see it. Again, it's linked in the chat. It's linked in our show notes, or just look up at M0G Taku on Twitter and find it.
There's some
hilarious
amazing videos.
It's so fantastic.
It is ridiculously dumb, but I think there's always something special about having a game that we all know and know how it works, and sort of hacking it to do something different. And they go for a number of rounds. Like, they actually play a full game of this with someone counting. There's a judge, and that's obviously it's not something you're going to be doing a lot, but it's super fun that they're finding a way to use the game in ways that it wasn't meant to. And it's just hilarious to see happen. You see it from the perspective of the Junkrat who throws the grenades, and it's just hilarious. So go check it out.
It just makes me think of, mini games, which leads me down the arcade thought, and maybe someday, with Overwatch, they will create some I don't know, some mod section, which could be kind of fun. I mean, we see a little bit with the Brawl, right, at this point, but maybe it'll be extended into, I don't know, just more creative things like this.
The badminton brawl could be super
The
fun.
badminton brawl. You'd be surprised how popular badminton is, like in Asia. It's crazy popular, and maybe even in Europe too. But it's a lot more popular than I think a lot of Americans understand.
Yeah.
I would assume I would say so, because I haven't heard it referenced since I was like a child with the dumbest little plastic badminton set you've ever seen in your life. That's the last time I thought about badminton. So, but this is pretty fantastic. I'm not sure how the Brawl would work, because boy, would it be boring to be the Junkrat or the Mercy, and this you just kind of stand there. Mm-hmm. But pretty cool nonetheless. So, Patrick, I love that you included this. I saw this on the Reddit the other day. This is on the subreddit. It was titled "How Not to Be Useful on a Team," and it's basically the original poster, which was I'm not pulling it up fast enough to actually get the guy's name, but the guy was lamenting the fact that he ended up into this game with this guy that just played Bastion the whole time, refused to switch no matter what happened. They were getting crushed.
I know.
And he's like, oh, this is pretty normal. This happens. Whatever. You know what? I'm curious enough. I'll go check his profile. And he checks this guy's profile, and he put an Imager link, and this guy has 65 hours played as Bastion, 4 minutes played as Reaper, nothing else.
So the reason I included it in is, first of all, it's kind of funny, but I looked at this, and obviously I think like everyone else, I was like, oh my God, this game is about changing your characters and like adapting to the enemy team, and what are you doing playing 65 hours of Bastion? What's wrong with you? And then I started reading the comments, and unfortunately it's not there anymore, but the top comment when I read it was actually someone pointing out that maybe this person is disabled, and maybe Bastion is the only thing they can play. Of course, maybe they're an a-hole. That's entirely possible. But it's just, it might be that person, it's the only thing they're able to play properly because of some kind of disability. And I'm not meaning to say anyone should feel bad for being angry at that guy who played 65 hours of Bastion, but just saying it might be the case. So maybe I shouldn't have gotten that angry, and maybe take a step back and think, leave room for the possibility that this is not just a complete, idiot trying to ruin everyone else's day.
The other thing that I always say, keep in mind, and I didn't read this and think, oh man, what a bad player. I just thought it was hilarious that anyone was just this dedicated to one hero, no matter what the hero is. I'm again biased. I love Bastion. I really like Bastion, but it could be a child. It could be a very young kid. And I don't know about you guys, but I got really obsessed with things for really no reason whatsoever. I could not explain it to you when I was a child. This might just be their jam. They may think a transforming robot is the single coolest thing in the world. And you know what? They're right. It's pretty cool. So
Dude,
you never know.
firing Bastion, there's no feeling like firing Bastion in Overwatch, and that is a true statement. I don't think there's anything else that's similar to that, and it's a good feeling too.
I love Bastion. I wear my Bastion T-shirt with pride. So I'm a big fan. So and Overwatch is I think a very family friendly game. I think it's one of the most family friendly shooters that has ever been made. So I don't think it's unrealistic to assume that there are a lot of young children playing this game. Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind next time you want to unload your salt all over someone in party chat, because oh man, some of the things I've seen typed this week. Still not as bad as most MOBAs I've played, but it still happens. It still happens in Overwatch. Be nice to each other is basically all I think we're trying to say. Oh, geez. So, there's so many other things. So, Patrick, what else would you like to definitely bring up before we wrap things up?
Well, Chris had a bunch of stuff about esports that I think we want to get to. Just one more before we do that, though. Do you remember that game Legend of Titans that we saw from China? That was a concept at that point.
Yes, there is. Right. Yes, I do remember that. And yes, now we have a gameplay preview.
Yes. So basically what it is a Chinese clone of Overwatch. And someone put up, oh, actually the video is gone. Oh, no. The video is gone.
I've seen it in other places, though, because I'll honestly tell you where I saw it, of all the weird places, was scrolling through my Facebook feed one morning while I was waking up.
Oh, yeah.
Someone had posted it there, and I'm like, oh, this is hilarious. It looks like some of the models were ripped directly out of the game.
Yeah, some of them, they tried to change them a little bit, like Reinhardt is a little bit different. But like
Reaper's wearing the suit, and it looks like they just added some random shit onto his shotguns. So basically, sadly, we don't have a link anymore, because I wanted to say, go watch this if you want to see what Overwatch would look like if the art direction was total garbage.
But it's funny because on paper, it looks pretty, if you described Overwatch to someone and they went and checked out this thing, they would probably think, yeah, that's what they're talking about. Because on paper, it's exactly that. You have the different classes, they redid the maps, they redid everything. But it looks off. It's like it went through the teleporter in like The Fly and got merged with some kind of bad quality Korean MMO or something. I don't know. And it looks just a little bit different enough that it's weird. It just made my brain not function properly for a second. So it's too bad we don't have the gameplay video anymore.
Yeah, it's sad. It looked like hot garbage, man. It looked so bad.
So it wasn't as good as the Hearthstone clone that we saw pretty early on.
Oh,
is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Well, the Hearthstone clone was just a straight rip off. They didn't even look like they really tried to change the game all this much. This one, it looks like poorly ripped out Overwatch models running around in a crappily designed CS:GO map.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It just doesn't. Yeah. Oh man, it's just like whatever, man. You do you. I don't think you're gonna confuse anyone with this game. So anyway. Yeah. So moving into the esports talk. What'd you bring for us, Chris?
Oh yeah, so I just there was an article that was written by Doa. For those of you don't follow esports, Doa is somebody who's been casting esports for a long time, and actually for the last 4 or 5 years now, he's been in Korea casting for OGN, which is one of the biggest esports organizations in Korea. He wrote an article for ESPN recently talking about just the Overwatch esports, and particularly focused on the founder of Maximum Impact Gaming, or MIG, which is an organization that was I would say the first League of Legends team or organization that reach the top, like not only won Korea, but also, from the main stage of LCS and whatnot, made, did they win? They might have won the first LCS with their one of their teams. They had a Blaze and Frost team at the time. But anyways, one of the best League of Legends teams historically. And he's getting into Overwatch, or at least the MIG is getting into Overwatch, or MIG is getting into Overwatch now. And the article's talks a lot about just how, when they were getting started with League, and how it, just began with, one team, and they decided, hey, you know what, we should have two teams, kind of like they do in StarCraft. They used to have A and B teams. But we'll actually have them be both competitive teams, and, we'll practice with each other. We'll have the team house and all this, just your standard Korean esports setup. And, he talked about just how successful they were with that, and how, just both teams, kind of helped, just competitively push each other, and then they ended up both being competitive that way. And he's talked about doing the same thing with Overwatch. So right now they have two teams that all in an esports team house that's in some part of Seoul that's not very expensive or anything like that. Maybe some, I guess what you would compare to like a suburb or something like that. And, the houses, there's not much to it, but they're practicing like crazy hours. Got two teams that just scrimmage each other. They don't scrimmage other teams like you see in the West here, where, you'll see like a Luminosity scrimmage, like a Reunited, and that's the only way they can practice, right? No, this is all internal. So,
it's a good way to keep your strategies under
yeah,
lock and
right.
key.
Yes, that was one thing I've always thought was strange. It's just like when you're practicing with another competitive team, isn't it weird just playing each other in an event? Because you guys just know each other, and you know each other's strategies. Like, you literally know what the best strategies are. Otherwise, they're unpracticed, right?
I feel like it can't be that bad of a risk, though, because what's the word? Say you have two teams, you put both of those teams in a tournament. Oh no, they both made it to the finals. I mean, is it the worst thing that could happen?
I mean, it just gets, it's like Hearthstone, right? It just comes down to who executes a strategy. Both of you guys know what they're gonna do, which is cool. I mean, that's great. I mean, that's definitely completely viable. But it's nice that like when strategy has a huge impact on results. But anyways, he was talking about it. It was kind of cool to see the beginnings, just him trying to replicate, I guess, the beginnings of an esport. Just an esport team or a successful team. And it just shows you that the Koreans are coming, what I mean, from the competitive scene. And from what we've seen historically, they're going to spend more hours, whether it's healthy or not. They are going to spend more hours than we're going to see from players and teams in the West here. And we'll have to see how it lines up in terms of, just the competing for the grand championships.
Yep. Yeah. It's always. I mean, if you followed multiple esports, that's always. It seems like a milestone when South Korea joins the esport. That's when it feels like, to me anyway, that it gets serious. That's when the real competition starts.
Yeah.
Because time and time again across many esports, it seems like every time South Korea joins the fray, that's where the real stars come from.
Yeah, and they've always been mostly in the strategy, like the RTS or MOBA space. So we haven't seen them in the FPS space, at least from the standpoint of CS:GO and some of the other popular FPSs just historically. It's huge there, though. We know that with Sudden Attack and even Crossfire. Those are huge games over there, but they've just never been huge esports.
Yeah, and just last week we were talking about how the popularity is growing in Overwatch over in South Korea just from what we're hearing from the PC bungs.
Yeah, and the whole animated thing, it's just perfect for the Korean culture. So for sure we'll be seeing that happening soon. And I think there was already one tournament I saw, the first OGN tournament. It was pretty cool, like even just back then. Obviously the West is way just ahead at this point, but I think the gap will close very, very quickly. And yeah, that'll be cool. It'll be great to see if we can have an esport where the West and the Korean scene are an equal. We're just at an equal skill level. Because
it's not
with
as
StarCraft. It was always it was basically a race that could never catch the Koreans. They were just so far ahead.
Right. You just started rooting for the South Korean players that were on American teams here in North America.
Adopted American players, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But, yeah, but that, and then the second thing I just want to bring up is just really prize pools, right, for the event. ESL announced that there's going to be a $100,000 event at Gamescom this year that they're going to be hosting and working, with Blizzard to try to figure out, just some cool format. No details on the format quite yet, but there will be 4 qualifying teams from NA and 4 qualifying teams from EU, open to everybody, so it's not just like invitations or anything. And then the top 8 will compete at Gamescom. But $100,000. I mean, that's that's a lot. And
Starting
we're
to
talking,
get up there, yeah.
I know we're talking like 3 months just after launch too. So by BlizzCon, who knows how much it's going to be.
And Patrick,
Well,
I
I
know
think
you've gone
it's-
in the past. Are you going to Gamescom this year?
No, not this year. I mean, yeah, I've gone for work like 5 times. The problem with Gamescom is that it is a public show, and even they have not private, but press days in the beginning, but it's really just the morning anymore. And for people to understand, Gamescom is the largest video game convention in the world by far. It's like 350,000 people who show up over the course of 5 days. And it's a lot of sweaty Germans. It's incredibly hot in Cologne at that time of the year. It's in the middle of summer, and it's not always a very enjoyable.
So you're telling me it's a men's locker room, is what you're saying?
Okay, all right.
No, there are girls. There are girls.
No, but it smells like a men's locker room.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Patrick, I am of German descent, and Mercy and I would take issue with your sweaty Germans comment.
Well, Mercy is Swiss, so I don't think she would.
Oh, I thought she was
We
German.
had this conversation last night, actually, with some friends.
I thought she was
This is
German.
funny.
Oh, she's not German.
No, she's Swiss.
German. She
She
speaks.
speaks German. That's a point of contention for the Swiss community, who's not very happy that she speaks German, like German, and not Swiss German.
Okay, all right. Nonetheless, I still resent that
Big issue.
comment.
I understand. So basically, I'm curious to see what's going to happen at Gamescom, but no, I'm not going.
Okay. all right.
And the thing is, I think what's really interesting is that these kinds of things are starting to happen before we even really know what Blizzard is doing with esports. We know they have plans, but we don't even have the competitive mode yet. We don't have, and it doesn't have to affect everything they're doing. Obviously, they could run away with whatever they want to do without Blizzard's established format. But I think it's interesting. It's starting to develop already, and we don't really know what Blizzard has officially planned for all of this. So encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm excited for it. I always enjoy Gamescom week, and 'cause there's always announcements and there's good tournaments going on. And
Yeah.
E3 this year was kind of average, I feel like. So bring on Gamescom.
Yeah, it's just Sony night. That's about it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Sony actually had a decent showing, and everyone else's was a yawn fest.
Exactly.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, we might have some stuff announced at Gamescom for sure for Blizzard, maybe for Overwatch even.
Maybe. Who knows? I guess we'll find out.
More characters. More characters, please.
More characters go, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Please. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up this episode. Hope everyone enjoyed this episode of Overwatchers. We will be back next week. We're still doing weekly, probably till the end of June. Then we'll go back to our bi-weekly setup. Thanks again to our patrons and our producers, Congan, Houston, and LVE. Thank you guys. Follow the show on Twitter at OverwatchCast. You can email us at mailoverwatchers@gmail.com. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes and over at youtube.com/YayMoveTV. And if you're listening on iTunes, by the way, we really appreciate those 5-star reviews. It helps us get new listeners. You guys have been fantastic so far. We are picking up new listeners every day, so thank you so much. This episode, I wanted to thank Big Mac Attack, Opposing Ed. My name is John Smith, who said, "Not a podcast about watches."
Wow.
And
Interesting remark. I guess it could be confusing to some people.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Daniel 1834. Thank you, thank all of you for your 5-star iTunes reviews. We really do appreciate that. However, before we go, Patrick, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter, not Patrick, and on Facebook as well. And I guess I'd recommend Pixels, the video game show I do every couple of weeks, because we're recording actually right after this. So probably when you listen to this show, it will be available. The E3 special for Pixels. We're going to have a full summary with Scott Johnson of everything we saw, everything that was interesting, and everything you should know about E3. So yeah, at FrenchSpin.com and check out the Pixels podcast.
Oh yeah, go see it. It's good stuff. Chairman, how about yourself?
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. All of the things are ChanmanV. So pretty simple there. And you can check out I have another Overwatch show that's very concentrated on the competitive scene called The Overview. You can check that out too.
Yep, a lot of esports over there if you guys are interested.
Yes, definitely.
Lots of esports. So you can find me on Twitter at Garrett Art. There's 2 R's and 2 T's in Garrett, 1 R and 1 T in Art, but you knew that already. You can find all the podcasts that I do over at amove.tv, and I'd like to specifically point out, go and subscribe to the Embrace the Spoilers feed if you haven't already. It's mostly Game of Thrones episodes. However, after this show, I will be getting together with Jocelyn and Kyle Ferguson to record our Warcraft spoiler episode, which will be going up on that exact same feed. So go subscribe to Embrace the Spoilers if you haven't already, or find it over at amove.tv. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll be back next week for the next episode of Overwatchers, but until then, good luck and have fun.
Bye.